The law is simple and merciless, and it arrives before the first breath finishes. Dust lifts as hooves hammer the dawn, and the ground seems to shiver with fear. Mara said, "Stay close, Finn." The herd funnels toward a dry riverbed, pressed by distance and rising heat. Darius swings his scarred head and reads the wind like scripture. Sable pads the ridge, ribs tight with hunger, eyes fixed and patient. Kerr skims the flanks, laughing in the way hyenas do when the weak begin to stumble. Finn blinks grit from his lashes and runs crooked, still learning balance. Mara said, "Left, we cut the bend." The sky burns white while shadows snap like traps. A vulture circles, writing a cruel promise over the plain. Darius bellows once, a cracked trumpet that rallies the wavering line. Sable slides lower, all muscle and math. Kerr tests the gap, tasting panic on the air. Finn trips, scrapes, rises. Mara said, "One more step, little one." The ground decides who will see night fall. Heat lifts from the plain like breath from a furnace, and the herd drags a ribbon of dust across the open world. Mara said, "Find the rhythm, Finn." He counts steps in his chest, 4 and 4 again, until fear sinks with motion. Darius keeps a wedge formation to block the flanks where predators prefer to bite. Sable shadows them without haste, conserving muscle for the one clean strike. Kerr nicks at their edges, daring a mistake, craving the slip that turns run into ruin. Finn feels the earth tilt when a hidden hole steals his balance. Mara said, "Eyes forward, trust my shoulder." The sun is a coin pressed to the skull, and the thirst inside every throat grows loud. Birds skim the air currents and sketch a map of endings. Darius bellows once and silence answers with warning. Sable vanishes into grass that seems still but hides a loaded spring. Kerr laughs softly, eager for dark to shorten the gap. Finn runs, and the day runs with him. The dry riverbed opens like a scar, its cracked plates stacked and sharp, promising speed and ambush in the same breath. Mara said, "Hold to the firmer seams." Darius chooses a line through islands of stone that carry weight without shattering. Finn hops the first fracture and feels triumph bloom, small and bright. Sable alters angle, reading their path, pacing for the turn where panic stretches bodies thin. Kerr drifts ahead to test the exit, sniffing the wind that carries fear like smoke. A gust lifts dust in a veil that blinds the calves, and the world shrinks to hoofbeats and heat. Mara said sound, not sight. Finn listens and tracks her footfalls like a drum. A lizard darts and vanishes, as if the earth inhales it. Darius snorts, and the herd compresses, muscle braided by need. Sable lowers her head. Kerr grins. The riverbed waits with its broken teeth. Wind shifts, and the scent changes from dust and sun to iron and hunger, and every heart hears it. Mara said, "Left bank, now." The herd tilts, a single organism choosing life by degrees. Finn bumps Mara's flank and steadies, trusting muscle more than sight. Darius marks a fallen acacia as a landmark and steers to its shadow. Sable glides low, timing breath with hoofbeats, measuring the softest body by the stumble in the rhythm. Kerr scours for a split jaw working, patience thinning. The riverbed narrows, and walls of thorn creep closer, sewing shut the sky. Mara said, "Breathe with me." Finn mirrors her breath, and the panic thins just enough to place his feet. A grasshopper smacks his cheek and he almost laughs. Darius bellows again, short and sharp. A hammer on a bell. Sable answers with silence. Kerr answers with teeth. The corridor breaks open to a flat pan that shines like bone, and sound collapses into a drumbeat that feels like fate. Mara said sprint, then cut. Finn gathers himself a small spark, hiding behind dust. Darius widens the wedge to confuse pursuit, shoulders striking air with stubborn grace. Sable commits, and the air around her hardens into intention. Ow! Kerr leaps a ditch and lands too close, surprised by his own luck. Shadows race beside them longer than lives. Mara said now. They pivot left as one, and the pan fractures into lines that promise safety to the quick and ruin to the late. Finn's hooves slip, then bite. Sable adjusts mid-charge and keeps him centered. Kerr falters at a sudden ridge, snarls, recovers. Darius roars a final command that feels like a prayer. The sun does not blink. The plane holds its breath. The plane exhales its heat, and the herd slows to a weary march, ribs shuddering beneath hides stretched thin. Mara said, "Stay with me, Finn." His steps falter, yet her flank is a wall of certainty. Darius lingers behind, shoulders rising like a fortress, ensuring the weak remain unseen by distant eyes. Sable disappears into tall grass, her patience a cruel echo of silence. Kerr prowls near, unwilling to let exhaustion erase opportunity. Finn presses close to Mara, ears twitching, thirst gnawing at his small frame. The horizon bends in waves, and mirage lakes glimmer just beyond reach, mocking their hunger. Mara said only further, "Little one." Darius grunts approval, though weariness carves lines into his every move. Birds shriek overhead, carrying the sound of desperation like a drumbeat. Shadows lengthen, and the herd's rhythm falters. Sable waits. Kerr waits. And Finn fights to keep rising, heart hammering louder than his hooves. The herd gathers at a shallow pool, little more than cracked mud, and a mirror of sky. Mara said, "Drink, Finn, before it fades." Finn lowers his head, tongue scraping mud more than water, but relief flickers in his eyes. Darius stands tall above them, chest heaving, scanning the horizon. Sable lingers beyond the reeds, her reflection broken on water's skin. Kerr crouches nearby, silent for once, knowing patience sharpens hunger. Mara watches Finn's sides rise and fall, a fragile rhythm that could break with one missed step. She said, "Strong now, little one. We are not alone." Dragonflies skim the surface, wings catching light like sparks. A wind moves reeds, disguising footsteps. Darius growls, the sound heavy as stone. Sable's gaze tightens. Kerr shifts. Finn drinks again, unaware of the storm waiting behind stillness. Evening presses low, and the sky burns orange, shadows stretching across the plain. The herd lies in a loose circle, hooves tucked, sides rising like tired drums. Mara rests near Finn, her eyes never closing fully. She said, "Sleep while you can, little one." Finn curls small, dust clinging to his lashes. Darius stands at the circle's edge, horn tips glowing in fading light, a sentinel etched against fire sky. Sable waits in tall shadow, every breath drawn slow and deep. Kerr slinks closer, tail twitching, hunger painting his patience thin. Stars threaten to break the horizon, promising a colder test to come. The ground hums with insects, the night choir swelling. Mara whispers, "Dream of running." Finn breathes steady, his trust anchoring her strength. Darius shifts his stance, dust trailing like smoke. And the predators remain, unseen but certain, waiting for the first crack in silence. Night takes the sky, silver stars scattering like shards, and the plain turns into a stage for whispers. Mara said, "Stay near me, Finn, if you wake." Her voice is steady, though fear coils in the dark. Finn stirs, eyes flicking to shadows that stretch wrong. Darius shifts his weight, nostrils wide, catching the scent of watchful hunger. Sable slides low, her body pressed to ground, using the night to become silence. Kerr circles, paws muffled in dust, gaze locked on the smallest breath. The herd tightens, restless, ears twitching with each rustle. Mara bends her head close to Finn. She said, "Tomorrow we run again, stronger." Finn's eyes close, trusting her promise against the endless dark. Darius rumbles deep, a warning carried on air. The stars hold witness. The night holds its secrets, and survival waits for dawn. Dawn bleeds pale over the horizon, painting the plain in fragile light. Mara wakes Finn with a soft nudge. She said, "Rise, little one. The day will not wait." His legs tremble, yet he stands, blinking grit from his lashes. Darius exhales, steam curling from nostrils in cold air, his eyes sunken yet resolute. Sable retreats into taller grass, conserving her strike for later sun. Kerr yawns wide, revealing teeth, then trots along their shadow as if to mock their endurance. The herd begins to move, hooves breaking frost into dust, rhythm building once again. Mara said, "Step with me." Finn matches her stride, smaller, weaker, but still moving. The wind carries bird song, faint and brief, a fragile thread of hope. Darius bellows once, and the herd follows, guided by habit and need. The plain stretches infinite, but their will stretches further. The sun climbs higher, and the plain burns like a furnace, every breath a weight. Mara said, "Stay steady, Finn." His steps falter, hooves scraping loose stones. Darius moves ahead, cutting through thorn scrub with the force of memory. Sable stalks from the rear, closing the distance, hunger bright in her eyes. Kerr races the flank, snapping laughter that shakes the herd's rhythm. Finn pants hard, ribs fluttering like fragile wings. Mara presses her shoulder firm against his, her strength shaping his steps. The air taste of iron, as if blood already spills. Vultures spiral closer, knowing the pace cannot hold. Darius bellows, but the line trembles. Mara said, "Keep moving, little one." The thornfield narrows, forcing the herd into a brittle channel where shadows conceal threat. Mara said, "Stay close, Finn." His eyes widen, ears twitching at every sound. Darius drives forward, horn tips snagging branches. Sable glides low, tail slicing air. Kerr waits, then lunges, teeth flashing at the rear. Panic cracks through the herd like lightning, bodies pressing tight, cries splitting the air. Finn stumbles again, swallowed by dust. Mara bends her neck, dragging him upright with a desperate push. The herd surges, forgetting order. Darius roars, but chaos drowns command. Mara said, "One more step." Finn obeys, trembling. The predators tighten. The herd bursts free into open plain, but freedom is no mercy, for distance means exposure. Mara said, "Run with me, Finn." His legs blur, but his strength wanes. Darius strides like a mountain, flanks streaked with blood from thorn wounds. Sable breaks into full sprint, each stride closing the gap, dust rolling off her body like storm clouds. Kerr leaps and snaps at calves, fear spreading like fire. Finn gasps, chest rattling with exhaustion. Mara presses, every step an anchor. Vultures scream overhead, a chorus for endings. The herd splits, some breaking left, others right. Darius bellows, holding what line remain. Mara said, "Do not stop." Shadows stretch long, though the sun still burns high, and fear drives the herd into reckless flight. Mara said, "Hold, Finn, match me." His hooves scrape rock, nearly folding. Darius charges at Kerr, horns lowered, forcing space with rage. Kerr yelps and dodges, circling wider. Sable seizes the moment, lunging toward Finn. Mara blocks, flanks slamming hard, dust exploding. Finn squeals, heart hammering like a drum, too fast to follow. The herd scatters further, chaos unraveling. Darius bellows, voice breaking sky, but order cannot be restored. Mara presses against Finn, forcing him left. She said, "Stay alive, little one." The plain decides who endures. The chase stretches into cruel silence, broken only by hooves and breath, each sound a measure of survival. Mara said, "Keep breathing, Finn." His body shakes, near collapse. Darius slows, wounded, blood dripping into dust. Sable shifts her focus, circling Finn with hunger, sharpened by patience. Kerr follows her lead, grinning, eyes bright. The herd is no longer herd, just fragments scattered by terror. Mara holds herself between Finn and death, shoulders low, eyes burning with fire. She said, "Not yet." Finn staggers but steps again. Darius roars, echo fading, but his strength wanes. Predators know. The plane holds its breath. The plane shifts in silence, as if the earth itself hides a secret. Mara said, "Stay close, Finn, the air feels wrong." His ears twitch, reading the wind. Darius halts, eyes narrowing at the horizon where storm clouds gather despite the heat. Sable pauses her hunt, muzzle lifting to taste the air heavy with change. Kerr growls low, confused by the sudden stillness. The herd slows, breath shallow, muscles taut with unease. Lightning scratches the far sky, splitting heat with silver fire. Mara pressed her body against Finn, grounding him. She said, "Something greater moves here." Darius bellows softly, not to attack but to warn. The predators, for a heartbeat, share the same fear. The first drops strike like stones, hard and sparse, darkening dust into scars. Mara said, "Move, Finn, the storm will break us if we stay." Darius pushes the herd forward, his body laboring under wounds yet unwilling to yield. Sable retreats to higher ground, tail lashing, eyes wary of the sky, rather than prey. Kerr shakes his coat, snarling at the heavens as thunder splits the air. Finn stumbles, rain matting his hide, but Mara braces him steady. She said, "Lean into me." Lightning flashes, painting all bodies in cruel white before the dark swallows them again. The herd panics, surging blindly into sheets of water. Darius roars, his voice nearly drowned. The storm is no ally. Water rushes across the plain, a sudden flood turning dust into a river of mud. Mara said, "Do not stop, Finn. Lift your legs higher." Finn splashes, tiny strides swallowed by rising water. Darius plants himself, anchoring calves across the current with brute force. Sable snarls, forced back as her path vanishes beneath swirling torrents. Kerr leaps from stone to stone, jaws snapping at shadows, desperation painting madness. Mara grips Finn with her flank, pushing him across a slick bank. She said, "One more step." His breath rattles, but he obeys. Lightning crashes close, the earth shaking with thunder. The herd splinters, torn by current and fear. Darius bellows, a sound of both command and despair. The storm eases, leaving silence sharp as a blade. The plain glistens, scarred by rivers that vanish into thirsty earth. Mara said, "You live, Finn, though the sky tried to take us." He shakes, small body heavy with exhaustion. Darius drips blood and rain, his eyes hollow, but his stance unbroken. Sable reappears, coat slick, gaze no longer triumphant but cautious, her hunger tempered by survival's balance. Kerr lingers at the edges, ribs heaving, his laughter gone, replaced by watchful silence. The herd is fewer now, gaps clear where lives were lost. Mara lowers her head to Finn. She said, "We go on." Darius snorts, a fractured command. The predators wait, but for the first time, they are not certain. As dusk falls, a revelation settles like ash. Survival is not divided into predator and prey alone. Mara said, "The plain itself is judge and executioner." Finn leans into her warmth, eyes closing, unaware of the truth she carries. Darius limps, body scarred with a story written in both blood and storm. Sable grooms her paw, as if washing away hunger in the wake of futility. Kerr lowers his head, beaten by elements, though his eyes never leave the herd. The horizon burns red, a warning disguised as beauty. Mara whispers, "The danger is never gone." Finn dreams while death waits patient. Darius exhales, steam fading in dusk, and the plain, indifferent, holds its silence. The sun returns fierce, drying the storm's gift into cracked scars across the plain. Mara said, "Stay near, Finn. The ground remembers every fall." Finn limps, hooves tender, yet his eyes hold stubborn fire. Darius staggers, each step a monument of will, wounds leaking dark trails in dust. Sable follows, her ribs visible, driven by hunger sharpened to desperation. Kerr moves closer, pacing with manic energy, laughter bubbling like broken glass. The herd is thin, silence filling the gaps of the fallen. Vultures hover low, shadows stretching long, marking time. Mara presses Finn forward, her voice steady. She said, "Breathe with me." Finn obeys, breath ragged but true. Darius bellows weakly, his call more prayer than command. The chase has not ended. It has only narrowed. The herd splits again, panic rising as shadows dart across brittle land. Mara said, "Hold to me, Finn." His legs tremble, but obey her rhythm. Darius crashes through the center, forcing direction with horns lowered. Sable seizes the moment, leaping from grass with claws extended, eyes locked on Finn. Mara swerves, striking her flank against Predator's path, dust exploding. Kerr cuts from the other side, jaws snapping inches from calves, laughter cracking the air. Finn squeals, fear a thin thread of sound swallowed by thunderous hooves. Mara growls, her voice breaking into command. She said, "Not today." Darius bellows, the sky answering with silence. The moment teeters, balanced on survival's edge. Chaos fractures into brutal clarity, the hunt no longer distant but immediate. Mara said, "Run, Finn, every step matters." His legs blur, stumbling yet refusing collapse. Darius confronts Kerr, horns clashing with snapping jaws, dust cloaking their struggle. Sable pivots, her strike redirected, tail slicing air like a whip. The herd scatters into broken lines, no formation left. Vultures cry, the sky recording cruelty. Finn gasps, his body near failure, but Mara presses, shoulders strong, eyes blazing. She said, "With me." Darius roars, forcing Kerr aside, but his strength falters. Sable circles back, patient as the plane itself. The climax builds, each breath closer to ending. The plane contracts to a single desperate chase, predator and prey locked in rhythm. Mara said, "Faster, Finn." His chest heaves, legs stumbling into dust. Darius lags, each step slower, blood dripping steady. Sable comets full sprint, body stretched like an arrow. Kerr follows, jaws snapping, a cruel echo. Mara lunges sideways, blocking Finn's path from Sable's claws, shoulder striking hard. Finn squeals, leaping forward, hooves scraping stone. Darius bellows a final command, but his voice is fractured. The herd is gone, fragments of survival scattered, leaving only the hunted and the hunters. Mara said, "One more step." The plane roars with silence. The climax arrives brutal, inevitable, and merciless. Mara said, "Rise, Finn, rise." His legs falter, strength spent, collapsing into dust. Sable lunges, shadows stretching long, her eyes aflame with hunger. Kerr dives low, teeth flashing like knives. Darius charges with final fury, horns lowered, blood streaming, a roar shaking the plane. His body collides, deflecting predators, in one last act. The impact is thunder, dust rising in choking clouds. Finn cries weakly, crawling against earth that will not yield. Mara presses her body to shield him, her breath breaking but defiant. She said, "I will not let go." The plane decides, and the sky bears witness. Dust hangs like a bruise, and the ground hums with the memory of impact. Mara said, "Breathe, Finn." His ribs flutter, thin as reeds in wind. Darius stands over them, swaying, blood threading from a torn flank. Sable circles once, measuring ruin, then slows, eyes narrowed by caution. Kerr licks dust from his lips, and watches for a break that does not come. Mara said, "Rise with me." Finn tries, legs shivering, hooves searching for grip that isn't there. The herd edges closer, drawn by habit and grief. Darius exhales a harsh note, half warning, half farewell. The plain answers with silence that feels like judgment. Sable steps back, not from mercy, but from cost. Kerr drifts to shade, hunger unwilling to spend more life on life. Mara lowers her head and shelters Finn from the sun. She said, "You are safe while I stand." The wind lifts, and the dust lets go. Heat loosens to breeze, and with it strength slips from old bones. Darius lowers his head and tests the earth, as if asking permission to fall. Mara said, "Hold, Finn, listen to him." Finn blinks through grit and finds the shape that guarded his world. Sable watches from grass that barely moves, a lesson carved into her breath. Kerr paces a thin crescent, unwilling to challenge what still stands. Darius steps once, staggers, then steadies with a will that outlives muscle. He turns his scarred face toward the calf and the sky. Mara said, "Thank you." The words are simple, but they ring like iron. Darius exhales and kneels, not from fear, but from finish. The herd tightens, hooves quiet on dust. Sable dips her head, not in grief, but in recognition. Kerr looks away. The sun eases, and shadow accepts a king. Silence spreads from Darius like shade from a fallen tree. Mara said, "Rest, Finn. I will carry the day." His breath rasps. Thin thread pulled too long. Sable settles onto her belly, hunger caged by calculation. Kerr sits, tail stirring dust, eyes bright with the ache of waiting. The herd shifts its circle, learning a world without its shield. Mara nuzzles Finn and counts his breaths, not to measure but to endure. She said, "In and out, little one." The sky pales to blue steel, and insects stitch a restless hymn. Vultures redraw their spirals, closer now, precise and slow. Finn tries to rise and fails, then presses his face into Mara's neck. Sable closes her eyes and listens to their rhythm. Kerr yawns, wide with need, then clamps it shut. The plain leans forward, patient as tide. Evening pours gold across the plain and finds no mercy there. Mara said, "I am here." Finn breathes shallow, each draw a small argument against night. Sable rises and steps once, then stops, reading the cost in every move. Kerr edges closer, checks the wind and backs away, as if denied. The herd begins to drift, pulled by distance and thirst. Mara lowers herself beside Finn and becomes his weather, blocking light and fear. She said, "Sleep if you must." His eyes flicker, catching the sunset like tiny mirrors. A gust lifts dust into a veil and lowers it gently. Finn's chest pauses, then resumes, then pauses longer. Sable bows her head not to pray but to accept law. Kerr closes his mouth on a laugh and swallows it whole. The horizon reddens, and a name fades. Night arrives without sound, and the first star appears where day let go. Mara said, "I will remember your steps." Finn does not answer, and the earth keeps him gently. Sable turns away. Hunger unfulfilled, but not unjustified. Kerr slips into dark, his shadow swallowed by thicker dark. The herd moves on, learning to live with a space that will not close. Mara rises slowly, breath catching, and looks once at the quiet shape. She said, "Run where I cannot follow." Wind brushes the grass, and it sounds like hooves far away. Vultures wait until moonlight hardens edges. Sable fades into grass and becomes only scent. Kerr vanishes, leaving only prints. Mara follows the herd, each step a promise that costs. The plain keeps what it takes. Dawn stains the plain with pale silver, and silence carries heavier than thunder. Mara said, "I walk for you, Finn." Her voice is breath, not sound. Darius is gone, his absence a weight deeper than scars. The herd moves slow, no rhythm left, each step uncertain. Sable lingers at the horizon, her hunger turned to patience. Kerr drifts behind, quiet for once, no laughter, no taunt. The sky is wide and cruel, yet it glows with memory. Mara keeps her pace steady, her body still strong, though her eyes burn with loss. She said, "You are not forgotten." Vultures circle low, shadows marking earth with warning. The plain feels endless, but grief has no measure. Each hoofprint is both remembrance and survival. The day warms, but no voice rises to break it. Mara said, "I carry your breath." Her flank aches, yet she presses on, her stride deliberate. Sable stalks shadows, watching, but she does not strike, as though bound by unseen law. Kerr keeps distance, eyes narrowed, his hunger muted by weight of loss. The herd pulls forward, bodies weakened but alive, guided by memory more than strength. Darius' echo lingers in their line, the wedge formation broken but still honored. Mara glances back once, the ground empty but not forgotten. She said, "You run beside me still." Wind stirs grass, whispering as if to answer. Vultures soar higher, sensing no feast yet. The plain offers only distance, and Mara accepts. By noon the sky burns, merciless in its heat, and the plain feels endless. Mara said, step by step, "Finn, I hear you." Her shadow stretches thin, across cracked ground. The herd's calves stumble, some steadied by silent mothers, others faltering alone. Sable lies flat in grass, conserving strength, her gaze still sharp. Kerr crouches low, testing, yet unwilling to break silence heavy with memory. Mara shields weaker calves, her body carving safety into fragile rhythm. She said, "We endure because we must." Her words are promise, not comfort. The sun presses down, erasing tracks but not what they carry. Each hoofbeat is survival and sorrow braided tight. Evening bleeds crimson, the plain glowing with fire that is not flame. Mara said, "The day dies as you did, Finn." Her voice breaks but her stride does not. The herd slows, hooves dragging, dust rising in tired sighs. Darius' memory hums in their silence, a song unfinished. Sable watches from ridge, her outline black against blood sky. Kerr paces below, restless, hunger rattling his bones, yet he holds. Mara walks at center, her body both shield and beacon. She said, "This is the cost and still we move." The wind whips, carrying ash-colored dust across the plain. Vultures scatter east, shadows streaking long. Night prepares its claim. Night arrives clean and absolute, stars piercing the sky like cold fire. Mara stops once, lifting her head, and silence deepens. She said, "The herd goes on, and so will I." Finn's echo lingers in her breath, shaping her steps. Darius' roar lingers in the air, though his body rests beneath dust. Sable turns, fading into dark grass, a predator denied but never defeated. Kerr melts into shadow, his laughter gone, leaving only silence. The herd stretches thin, yet it still moves, each step testimony to survival's weight. Mara lowers her head and presses forward. She said, "The plain remembers us. The stars shine unblinking, eternal witnesses."